now we're gonna get into the kind of specifics of the game, the basic concepts. Um, I always talk about these things in my sessions that I coach for paid coaching and whatnot. It's guys, I almost say the exact same thing every single time. It comes down to fundamentals and basics. There are almost zero ways to cheese wins and to kind of be chaotic and like just coin flip plays. It's very unstable. You will win a few games. You'll win, maybe like you'll get on a 10 win streak or something. After you win streak, after you hit your peak, you're going to drop down right away. And guess what? The entire time you played, all you were playing for is dopamine. You didn't learn anything. You didn't progress anywhere. You haven't improved. Your rank has improved, but have you improved as a player? Most likely not. That's where practicing fundamentals and or practicing habits matters. So this is a perfect example of, or not example. This is a perfect pivot point to talking about farming junglers versus ganking junglers. It doesn't matter which type of player you are, right? Like it could be tank jungler versus range jungler, right? Or like bruiser versus like um AP AP range. It doesn't matter which type you are. You choose one and you build habits in that way. You cannot play Karthus, then go play Xin Zhao Trundle, then go play Evelynn, then go play like Jarvan. It just doesn't work. Pick a style, commit to that style, build habits that teach you what's good for your archetype. So if you play Bel'Veth, do not play champions that perma wanna gank. I mean, Bel'Veth can gank. But if you are a Hecarim player, for example, don't go start playing Xin Zhao. Don't go start playing Trundle. Your secondary champ, your third champ, should be champions that go well with the identity that you have. If you like playing farming junglers, play farming junglers. If you like playing tank junglers, play tank junglers. For me, I like playing bruisers slash tanks. I stay away from ranged junglers for now because it is easier to fix my gameplay, fix my habits, get better fundamentally, improve overall if I'm doing or if I'm working on what I already know and enhancing that. It's like if I drew this real quick, it's like if you have this little this is your baseline right here, right? And if right now this is like your tank junglers, if my tank junglers are all the way up here, right, and my range junglers are all the way down here, instead of trying to bring this all the way up, I can bring this all the way up while working on all the other things like jungle tracking, like pathing, like working with my teammates, all these things. Right now, if all these things are right here, and I'm trying to work on this, it's going to be exponentially harder to work on these things over here because, well, I'm trying to work on how to play ranged champs. That's why people should one trick, right? So let's say this, figure out this little diagram again. Let's say this is your one trick, um, and then you have your, like your for fun champ, right? And if your for fun champ skill is like all the way right here, your OTP skill is all the way up here. Everyone needs to work on this side of the like diagram, pretty much. There's always going to be fundamentals. There's always going to be basics. You're always working on your clear speed, your jungle tracking, how you gank, when you farm, when you gank. All those things are almost always being worked on. If you're playing your for fun champion, you're unironically spending more time trying to improve or trying to learn or trying to get better at this champion versus worrying about these things, ultimately making it harder for you to improve, get better, and achieve your ranked goal. So playing your OTP is almost always better, not because, well, it's obviously sometimes it can be boring, and it's not because you're trying to bring this even further up. You know how you play your champion. You obviously can hit many like there's never a limit to any champion. League of Legends is a crazy game. You can go like literally the sky's limit. You'll never hit your limit. You could keep trying. You never will, even if you're the best OTP ever. You can keep improving. But the best thing about the fact of the fact that you're good at your OTP is you can work on the rest of the stuff over here that is probably all mediocre. That's probably all only down here, and you could bring these lines all the way up, and it's easier to do that than working on this as well. OTPing is really good. Picking a style and how to play is even more important. Committing to it is essential. You always want to build fundamentals. It's the #1 priority, right? But if you build bad habits, it's okay as well. Building bad habits is better than building no habits. What I mean by that is if you consistently flip dragon every game, minute 5, right? Sounds ridiculous, but if you do it every single game, you will learn the ins and outs of how that works. If every 1 out of 5 games you do that, you will not learn when it's good or bad. It'll be much harder. So even if you're building bad habits, being consistent with it is better than building no habits. It's like coin flipping something bad, taking 25% odds every single time so you learn when the 25% odds work, versus always being a 50-50 player. If you are aware of your habits you're trying to build, or you're aware of the things you're trying to practice, you can build that habit and it's fine. That's why I emphasize not caring too much about being the perfect player, not caring too much about finding the perfect play, but to do whatever you think is correct consistently. Do it every single game. Nowadays in League of Legends, there's not really much. Well, the game's been out for 13 years, and the game is just developed in a way where there's not much skill expression anymore. In a sense where like most laners will not die that much early game. Some laners still do. Junglers, like, invading is hard. There's a lot of things in the game right now where it's like you cannot generate a 5-level lead in jungle or some crazy advantage in the jungle anymore. You can. Obviously, you're smurfing or you're playing a really good game, but generally speaking, it's much harder. Fundamentals and habits will get you to your next rank. That's how I'm currently at rank 8. Whenever I have my, lose streaks or I have my bad games, the reason why I instantly know I'm losing, some of these games are just lost, like it happens, some of these games are just lost, but the reason why I feel like some of these games I'm playing bad is the instant thought I have is, I'm not playing to fundamentals, I'm not thinking about the basics, I'm not thinking about waves, objectives, tempo, any of the basics, and that's why I feel like I'm losing. The moment I start focusing on the fundamentals, I instantly see results in my gameplay. If a challenger player can do it, I'm sure you can too. It doesn't matter how good your fundamentals are or your game knowledge. It's just about doing it over and over and over again. Repetition is key. A jungler, I know, any player should be thinking about 3 things. Okay? Waves, objectives, tempo. That's it. No champions matter. Well, they do, but they come from thinking about all 3 of these things. Champion levels, HPs, all these things are almost irrelevant to these equations. They come into play when thinking about these things, but they're never the first thought. Normally when you ask someone, okay, what is the Aatrox and the Cassandra playing for on this wave here? It's very clear to everyone that the Aatrox is trying to kill the Cassandra, and the Cassandra is just trying to live, but there's a hidden objective here. If you can, I'll give you guys like 10 seconds to think about it. There's a hidden objective here that we want to be playing for, or that in 30 seconds we want to think about, at the very least. Okay, you don't have to answer it, just think about it, right? It has nothing to do with this Cassandra, and it has everything to do with denying the Cassandra these minions, and getting this minion wave in, or letting it freeze into us. That's what I'm focused on, okay? And if the Cassandra ints, we're killing him. If the Aatrox ints, Cassandra has to play back to the Aatrox potentially. But the goal overall has nothing to do with this guy, and it has everything to do with this minion wave, and everything to do with this minion wave back here. That's how you want to be thinking about every single one of your plays. It's all about waves. Nothing more, nothing less. It's about waves, tempo, and what's possible for your kind of position. So here, the wave is too far forward, right? So I'm not going to interact with this wave just yet. But when it comes back into us, if Aatrox wants to push it, if Aatrox wants to freeze, I'm fully ready to interact with that wave. When I say interacting with lanes, I do not mean trying to interact and kill the enemy laner. What I mean is how you're going to be there for the wave and interact with that wave. More often than not, if you're focused on waves, you will get kills. But the order should not be kills first. The order should be waves, kills, well, waves into objectives. Well, obviously it's first tempo, and then waves into objectives, and then kills are a byproduct. And this is good structure to thinking about the game. Sometimes playing for kills is correct, right? But thinking about waves first helps you develop good skill to think about these things. So, for example, this game, okay, I'm very afraid that, hey, I know Maokai Pat top lane, and hey, I just hit the crab and mid lane went 1 for 1, and I see Maokai here, and I'm like, oh shit, I want to kind of interact here, but look at where I am, look at where he is. I make a fucking terrible mistake here, okay? I kill my tempo by trying to run and trying to save this guy. I hold tab, and I see this guy's flash really quickly, so I'm like, okay, maybe he can outplay this. He fucks his E up, he fucks his flash up, and he gets killed, and I killed my tempo. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sit here even longer and kill even more tempo. But there is one thing that I'm playing for no matter what here, and the moment I kill my tempo, you can see that I'm playing for this minion wave freeze. So let's backtrack here before we talk about this minion wave freeze. Tempo. Okay, how did he ruin his tempo? He's standing on the map, so what does this mean? He ruined his tempo? Guys, which camp is spawning in 30 seconds? Everyone should know this. I cleared bot to top. In 30 seconds, one of the camps are going to spawn. You want to be there the moment the camp spawns. 5 seconds before is great. 5 seconds after is okay. You want to be there the moment it spawns. Okay? This camp right here, this Gromp, is going to spawn at 415, 410, 420. One of those ranges, that's why if you're between the 410 to 420 range, you're at a good spot. It takes 30 seconds to recall, 8 seconds to recall, and then 22 seconds, you know, roughly, to get to your first camp. Whether it's Krugs, whether it's Gromp, whether it's Raptors, it's going to take you about 20 seconds to get there. You can speed it up via E, Jarvan EQ, you know, some speed up abilities, so it's still going to take you around 20 seconds. Okay, if I instantly recall here, my tempo will be good. Why? I'm going to be on the Gromp the moment it spawns. I'm going to be clearing Wolves the moment it spawns, Raptors, and then Krugs the moment it spawns. And then I can replay my game into the cannon. Alternatively, if I do my Gromp as fast as it spawns, then I do my Wolves as fast as it spawns. If you think about it, this Maokai is going to gank top lane. It's going to take him 20 seconds to make this gank successful. 10 seconds, 10 to 20 seconds. It could take even longer, right? He has to walk all the way here. It's probably 20 seconds. And then he needs to recall, so that's another 30 seconds. I will be 20 seconds faster than him, which means if I do Gromp, Wolves, I can invade his Raptors. I can pull the Dragon. I can maintain my tempo advantage and invade him up here. I can do anything on the map with a tempo advantage. What tempo means is being on your camp as fast as you possibly can and maintaining that because it gives you more opportunity and it gives you resources and EXP. You're racing against the clock pretty much. There will be a team fight at some point in this game. The stronger you are when that team fight hits, the higher chance that you have to win the fight. So, from minutes 9 to 12, you want your mythic. The earlier you get your mythic, the stronger you're going to be for the second dragon fight, maybe for the herald fight, maybe for a bot dive, maybe for a cross map play. If you get your mythic at 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes, you're going to be so unbelievably weak that when the fight breaks out, if the enemy jungler plays the game decently, or even if you think you're trying to carry, you'll be too weak to carry, and the enemy jungler will have too much more resources over you. So, the earlier you get your item, 9 minutes for example, 8 minutes for example, it's possible, the stronger you're going to be. The way to get this is by getting the guaranteed resources on the map. The same thing for getting level 6. Before 8 minutes, you want to be level 6, okay? If you're not level 6 before 8 minutes, something's wrong with the game. The moment 8 minutes hits, you should be level 6. If not, you fucked your tempo in the early game. Some things went miserably wrong. Okay, another benchmark for you to think about. 15 minutes, your jungle pet item should be complete. Okay, 18 minutes, you should have your second item. Okay, there are more breakpoints like this in the game. All this means is, hey, there's a time limit in this game. At 20 minutes of major objective spawns, 25 minutes is going to be major team fights. The weaker you are, the higher chance you have of losing. The stronger you are, it's kind of stupid to say that, but you're racing against the clock at all points. That's what wasted time means. What wasted time actually is just you missing out on resources, and it's hard to play the next sequence because you're missing out on resources. It might feel bad that, hey, I'm letting my laner die. Oh shit, my laner's dying, what the fuck? Like, I feel so bad, I should counter gank this, right? But if you already fucked up, if you're already playing for tempo, it's fine. What's going to happen is that later on fights, you'll be stronger than the enemy jungler as long as you play the fights well, which, if we have time, we'll talk about how you should play fights. But as long as you're playing the fights well, it doesn't matter if your teammates are taking an L. If you're strong in the game, you can carry. The point is to build fundamentals, habits, good mental, good skills for you to individually carry every game. We'll go back to the talking point of what I am going to play for here now that my top laner is dead. Boom, there's a mid wave here. What's going on with this mid wave is both laners are going to come, and this mid wave is frozen for us. I'm going to sit here when Cassante walks up. He's either going to lose all of his HP trying to break this wave, he might even die here, or he's going to not interact with the wave and just lose a full cannon minion. A full wave, a cannon minion wave specifically, is equivalent to a camp and a half. One wave is equal to one camp. If you think about it that way, if you leave all of your camps up for 1-2 minutes, you're dropping that many waves for 1 to 2 minutes, right? So imagine you drop a full quadrant, right? Imagine you just don't clear this for the entire game. That's the equivalent of one of your laners permanently roaming and dropping 2 waves for ever, pretty much, because they're just sitting there. No one's farming it, so it's not like there's only quote-unquote 2 camps being destroyed, 2 waves being destroyed. No, those are resources that should respawn, that you should have in your pocket, that you should be able to get later. So it's just stacking up burning resources on your side. It's like your laners are just dropping waves, dropping waves, dropping waves. That's the equivalent for a jungler when you drop those camps. If you are dropping these 2 camps, you better get a good play. You better get something that's worth your time. So for example, I'm dropping my temple here. I'm getting something worth my time. That's worth it to me, right? So my Aatrox is going to be so far ahead of the Cassante. Now that I'm recalling, my Aatrox has a godlike position in the mid lane. There's the enemy mid laner. I'm going to stay, and even if I'm on a ward here, I don't give a shit. This guy's just bleeding waves. He's bleeding EXP. My Aatrox is going to 1v9 the game for the rest of the game. My tempo will be bad, but what's going to happen is I will have a winning mid lane the entire game. So after I recover some of my tempo, I can have my mid laner help me either defend my Raptors, invade his Raptors, you know, just 1v2 for a while, and I have a lane to play through. It's only possible if you interact with lanes in kind of a way like this, so you can guarantee you have a winning lane. Now, to be honest, I probably did not need to be here because Sunday was so slow from base. He loses that cannon minion anyway. I honestly thought that because my Aatrox would come from base at the same time, like they both respawn at the exact same time. Cassandra actually died earlier. I don't know how Cassandra is so late, but you get the idea. I'm pretty sure Cassandra should be here. Obviously, in hindsight, I didn't need to be here, but it's the principle of playing for this wave. It doesn't matter that I could have been maxed here. I played fundamentals, I played for habits, right? And even though I missed the first check of playing for tempo, I should have recalled right after that crab. I'm still playing for something that marks down with my fundamentals, with my habits, and I'm playing for waves. Okay, and then the game goes on to the next sequence, right? We talked about waves, we talked about tempo, we talked about one jungle camp equals to 1 minion wave. Right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm still applying as much pressure as I can so my mid laner can maintain this freeze. So if you look at me from base, what I'm looking at is I'm just watching mid lane win trades. I'm watching what's going on with mid wave. It's still frozen. The Cassante hasn't farmed any minions in the last like 3 minutes. I'm going to take the crab because my bot lane and mid lane are playing aggressive, and I'm going to drop a pink to give the Cassante immense, well, cancer kind of. And in this position, I'm trying to pull the objective. Why do I feel confident I'm pulling the objective? My bot lane has priority here, and my mid laner is so far ahead that I can pull the objective. But again, every single time I'm thinking about a play, what I'm thinking about is waves into objectives, and thinking about conditions as well. So obviously it matters what's going on in the lane itself. From base, I skimmed through it really fast. From base, I saw what was going on in bot lane, and I saw the fact that Vayne's HP was super low. At some point before I pulled the dragon, I saw Vayne's HP super low, so I decided to pull it. Okay, because I know what's going on with HPs, mid, bot lane, waves, and whatnot, I decided to pull the dragon. Obviously, a bunch of shenanigans happens, and well, I get a lot of kills. We get a lot of kills, and then here, once we get the kills, we get the successful counter gank. It's Maokai Thresh. I mean, they were just too weak to make the play happen, right? After this, I start spam pinging, hey, come to the dragon with me. So this is the idea of using pings. Right now, no one knows that I'm trying to play for this dragon. No one, right? So this guy wants to recall, and my Aatrox's trying to do this top dive. But if I'm using pings, I can communicate to my laners to come. The time is not to ping when you're on the objective. The time is to ping even earlier. I should have pinged this earlier. I think I was deciding whether or not doing the dragon was good or bad, because I saw Aatrox go top lane as well. I was deciding that. But eventually I ping, and it's communicating to all my laners to come. You can even see here, I ping on my Zaya's forehead, right? I ping on his screen, and I'm even looking at Zyra to see if he will respond to my ping. I ping on the dragon, I look at this guy. If this guy fully channels his recall, I'm doing one of two things. I'm going to try and cancel him and ping him danger, and I'm going to ping him to come. And if he really wants to fully recall, I'm not going to flip the dragon. I'm going to do my Gromp and just be like, alright, I'll do dragon another time. Okay, but using pings to communicate to everyone is super important. Using pings on people's screen is that much more important. Just because I spam ping the dragon 3-4 times, it doesn't mean anything to people sometimes. They need to see it on their physical screen, right? Especially people with lower elos, they don't know what's going on. You need to ping on their screen for things to make sense.